This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovator's Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
Welcome to Killer Innovations. We are live here in the studio this week, and we've got a very special topic. This actually is a topic that came in as a special request. A couple of weeks ago, we were doing the show live, and we also live streamed this on Facebook. And one of the viewers on Facebook actually asked a question that said, hey, what technology trends, things that I'm thinking about are going to have some of the biggest impact over the next 5 years or so? So way back previously in the show, I shared a couple times what I used to call, or I still call, my innovation roadmaps. And today, we're actually going to walk through them. This is an updated version, 2017. In fact, this is not even anything like what I showed in the past. This is what I'm calling the technology megatrends, and they're grouped around certain themes. And this is just giving you an insight on how I look at what I call innovation timing, innovation dependencies, and ultimately the innovation roadmap. So don't worry. If you're watching live on video, you obviously can see me. You'll see the slides on the screen. If you're listening to this live on radio or as a podcast, when the show's all over and after the podcast posts, hop on over to killerinnovations.com, find this show in the list of all the shows, and you'll have an option to download a PDF of everything I'm sharing during the show today. So do not think that you got to start to try to scribble notes, particularly. Please do not do that while you're driving your car, okay? You can get the PDF of everything I show, everything I'm talking about today as a bonus for in the show notes. Just hop over to killerinnovations.com and you can get that. So let's go ahead and hop on in. So first off, why am I so focused on technologies? I look at exponential technologies that have a large scaling effect, where there's a doubling of performance, a halving of costs over a consistent time frame. Moore's law, double the number of transistors in a microprocessor every 18 to 24 months. And there's all kinds of these different laws on capacity of disk drives and cost of memory and those kinds of things. But when you look at these kinds of exponential technologies, they give way to what I call exponential ideas. They are triggering thoughts that if I go out 10 years with Moore's law, how big of a processor is this going to be, and what is it going to be able to do? That leads to what I call exponential innovations, combining the technologies and these exponential ideas into innovations. So backing up, if I'm going to be dependent on a technology 5 years from now that has some form of huge impact, when do I have to back up and start building and developing those innovations so that the timing hits? Sometimes it's patient. Maybe not the next generation of technology. You need 2 more generations of the technology in order for them to be to achieve what it is you want to achieve. And so, taking a look at that, then what I've prepared then are what I call this innovation roadmap. This shows you just a whole variety of different kinds of roadmaps that I use and that I have. Some of them you'll actually see and hear about in today's show. But these lay out what are some of those technologies and when do I think they're going to be ready to be included in some form of a game-changing innovation. Okay? So let's go ahead and hop on into the first one. So the first one is what I call catalyst and building blocks. And what do I mean by catalyst and building blocks? These are kind of fundamental technologies. So this would include things like fuel cells, power, batteries, those kinds of things. The distributed ledgers, so kind of think blockchain and those kinds of technology. And those kind of things are here today and going on. The other is coming up is things like nanomachines, printed electronics. If you've seen me present in the past, you've seen me talk about printed electronics. Lithium air batteries, one that I'm really hoping for. Today, most of our electronics, your mobile phone, your laptop, even Tesla vehicles are lithium-ion batteries. Lithium is a great new form of chemistry, but we need to work on more power density. Lithium-air batteries, for instance, is going to increase the total storage capacity. Electronic storage per cubic centimeter of material will see almost a 50% increase with lithium-air batteries. Lots of work going in. We'll talk about memristors and biological storage here a little bit more. Graphene and silicene, those are actually starting to be done in some very early stage semiconductor technologies, new kinds of materials. Micro Stirling engines. Stirling engines are ones that kind of recycle energy and drive much more efficiency. Micro Stirling engines are actually being used, for instance, in Africa for water purification. It's actually, it'll burn anything. It recycles the heat, so you get really, really great efficiency. This is actually something that I've been playing around with because of the work that we do with some of our nonprofits. Quantum computing is still coming. Metamaterials, high-powered wireless charging. Yes, some of the phone manufacturers have wireless charging today, but they are not ones that work over much greater distance, and there's a whole bunch of inherent challenges in that. And nano batteries. You saw some really micro small batteries. If you look at teardowns on some of the existing phones, these are nano batteries that will power nanotechnology, and we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second. So that just gives you a little bit of insight of what I call catalyst or in the building blocks. Now, I could try to go through each one of these items on each one of these pages, and this show would go on for days. So I have to pick and choose a couple of them that I am most interested in. So what am I going to pick on this one is exponential storage. The amount of information we need to store, for instance, to feed artificial intelligence, to feed the desire and need to record and keep everything and all the video that we track, etc. So there's two fundamental exponential storage technologies that are on the brink. One is called memristor, and the other one is biological. Memristor, which actually this rainbow colored diagram on this image here is the actual picture of a memristor. Memristor is literally nano memory storage that does not have a dependency on power, meaning it will keep its current memory in place even if you were to pull power from it, but it actually operates just as fast as any memory that you would put in a computer or cell phone or any other electronic device. This will transform how computers are designed, how phones are designed. With these kinds of technologies, you're going to see a fundamental shift in what is considered storage. With the kind of density that memristor can make available, you literally can keep everything, every picture, every image, everything that you would ever want to keep around for your own use. So, memristor. Next is biological. There's actually been some work that's done with MIT and Harvard Medical at being able to store information inside of human DNA. Now you're getting this right, yes, human DNA. So 1 ounce of human DNA is upwards of like 800 terabits of information. That's right, 800 terabits of information. So take that out and think about it as like an 8-ounce glass of human DNA or a pint that you would drink in the pub, right? You're talking about enough storage to store everything that has ever been produced by man up to now. So these kinds of storage capacities, then you ask the question of is, okay, well, today we have all this storage management and I have so much on my device and I back up to the cloud and I got to worry because if I hit my limit, you know, my cloud data storage provider is going to charge me extra money. You know, these kinds of storage capacities totally transform the concept of what do you keep. But think about it. It no longer becomes an issue about what do you keep. The challenge becomes in is how do you find it? With this kind of massive amount of information, How are you going to find all of the data that's in literally hundreds, thousands? We're into the zettabytes kinds of capacity. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of insight onto the storage piece. I think it's important. I think it's transformative. I think it's going to change basically how we think about information going forward. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to pick up our conversation here on technology megatrends. If you're listening on Facebook, post your questions. We'll answer those during the commercial break. For the rest of you, we're going to just take a quick step away from the microphone here, let our sponsors have a few seconds to help pay the bills. And when we come back, we're going to pick up right where we left off, talking about technology megatrends and how they're going to impact businesses, society, governments, and your career. We'll be right back.
Biz Talk Radio. This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovator's Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
Welcome back to Killer Innovations. But before we hop back into the show, just need to do a quick shout out for one of our sponsors, and that is Zoom. Zoom is the video collaboration technology that we use here in the studio to bring guests in and to keep the entire team working on the radio show all synchronized. I also use it in my day job as a CEO to stay connected to my team scattered around the world. If you haven't tried it, check it out. Zoom has made a free account available to you to try it out, allow you to collaborate with 50 people. Trust me, once you try it, you will not go back. It is the easiest tool for you and your team and even outsiders to get access to you and collaborate with you. So check it out. It's over at killerinnovations.com/Zoom, and that's how you get your free account. So hop on over, try it out, and I'd love to hear. So let's continue on in our conversation about technology megatrends. And let's pick it up. We talked a little bit last time about things like foundational, basic technologies. Today, this next segment, we're going to talk about perspective technologies. These are perceptives from the standpoint of helping you be context aware on what's going on, assistive technologies, those kinds of things. So let's take a deeper look at this particular slide segment, which is talking about things like machine learning, context aware computing, those kinds of things. And they give you a pretty wide range. One of the ones on here that I spend a fair amount of time thinking about is cognitive computing. How is that going to play out? How is that going to change computing architectures? The role kind of leading into what is really the whole opportunity for artificial intelligence. The other one that's going to come in here in 17, it's already playing in a little bit, which is audio in-ear wearables. We have those people think, okay, they're earphones or they're the AirPods from Apple. What we're talking about here is actually having assistive technologies literally being able to whisper in your ear things like facial recognition of a person at a party or an event, and then having it actually whisper in your ear who that person is, when was the last time you talked to them, those kinds of things. There's a lot of work, one here is talking about bio-inspired cybersecurity. Cybersecurity, huge industry, very rapidly growing, trying to build up defense. One is the bio-inspired. So think about it from the standpoint, if you got an infection, what's the role of the white blood cells attacking it, the role of antibiotics, boosting your immunity. So think about that as part of bio-inspired cybersecurity thoughts and ideas that are currently running around. The other is micro-robotics and autonomous systems. These are robots that do very, very single task focus. These aren't things from like the movie I, Robot, where they can do pretty much anything. These are ones that do a very specific set of skills or capabilities that become helpful. Now, these all kind of lead into, one particular technology that I'm spending a lot of time on, and that is exponential intelligence, which is super intelligence, deep learning, machine learning, big data, all of this collapsing into one. The common question I get when I get interviewed by the press is this around the corner? Do we have to be worried? In my perspective, this is a long way off. This is one that is going to take quite some time before it becomes a reality. But at the same time, there is a lot of funding going into this research. There is a lot of money being put into all of these elements at the different stages they're at. Today, whether it's your in-home system that does voice recognition and responds to you, that's pretty simplistic. We think of it as being smart, or wow, isn't that a neat kind of a gimmick? Deep Blue winning chess, again, very single task focused, right? Or Watson, winning the Jeopardy, again, a vocabulary kind of a focus that required a lot of learning and structured learning, meaning they had to load the information in a certain way to make it useful. AI that is just naturally aware and can self-learn and self-investigate and develop creative ideas. I've done a show in the past around where is that going to come in and where's that going to play out. We're not there, but this is one that if you're not keeping your eye on it, keep your eye on it. Another tech area that I'm keenly interested in is immersive media. So this is everything from what's the role of wearables, and you'll see it in this slide in the upper left-hand corner, bendable displays, almost like snap bracelets, VR, AR goggles, from being able to project surfaces and treat the airspace as an area that you can literally touch, interact with, etc. So one area that I've been working on has really been on this flexible displays, and this is Mylar film. And in fact, if I thought about it, I would have brought my sample in here to the studio to show you. But it's literally a rolled up piece of Mylar. You can go out and search onto YouTube. Just search for Phil McKinney flexible display in YouTube, and you'll have dozens of films of me, waving this material around and talking about it. But it literally is printable. It comes into a sheet of Mylar. It's treated. This is the same Mylar that flexible solar arrays are made out of. You can print the electronics, and then you literally can unroll it and turn it into a display. You can roll it up. It's not very durable. Think of it as almost like wallpaper-like displays. Last year's Consumer Electronics, you saw some very early concepts of this. Stuff that I've been working with has been in progress for almost a decade now. So some of these technologies are taking a very, very long time to come around. But one that I think is going to be transformative, especially when you think about things like digital advertising and billboards, where you can literally just paste this up. Think about it if you put it on the walls in your office or in your house, artwork and two-way interactive. So any surface for a relatively low cost can now be a fully interactive kinds of surface areas. As we look further out in the timeline, getting into 2020, 2021, 8K displays. We just got 4K, we're coming out with 8K. 8K is going to emerge in Japan first. It'll be there in time for the 2020 Olympics in Japan. That's what's driving it, is work by Japanese television manufacturers, Japanese government, tied to technologies around the Olympics there. So keep an eye on that. Things like light field displays and all kinds of things that are coming. Immersive media, things that you're going to be able to take advantage of, going to play an important role and could lead you to the next idea for your next great product. So don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to pick up our conversation talking about technology megatrends. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
is Talk Radio.
This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovator's Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Phil McKinney. Before we hop back into the show, I want to give a quick shout out of thanks to one of our sponsors, that being HP. HP joined the show as a sponsor a number of months ago and has been helping to re-outfit this studio. And we actually have a new studio that's also under construction to support more shows, more podcasts, so stay tuned. More announcements coming from the Innovators Network, where we have now joined forces with other podcasters in the innovation space. And HP has come alongside and has become a partner for that effort by sponsoring this show and also providing the technologies. We have, for instance, a new HP Z2 workstation that's running the show today. We also have HP Slices that actually run Zoom when we have guests in the show, etc. So check it out. Also, given the most recent activities around security, one area that HP has keenly focused in on is improving the security of your information, the privacy of your information on the devices that you purchase. And it's not just your laptops. It also includes your printers, your copiers, etc. So check it out. HP is the leader in securing and making sure that your information is private. Given everything that's going on, everything we're reading in the news, it's a great idea to make sure that all the electronics that you touch honor and protect your information the same way you would want your information protected. So go check it out, killerinnovations.com/HP, or hop on over to hp.com and check out some of the videos that they've just recently posted on making you aware of how information is being mishandled, misused, and how to do a better job of protecting your personal information. Today's topic is around technology megatrends. We've been talking through a variety of different, what I call my innovation roadmaps. I'm giving you an inside look behind the scenes of these innovation roadmaps. And let's continue on in our discussion. So, the next one up that I want to talk about is one called augmented communications. This is technologies, interfaces, etc., that are going to facilitate 2-3 groups, very large audience types of interactions beyond just simply the way we do it today. And some of this is really going to be transformative. So, for instance, what we're seeing today with things like wall-sized collaborative canvases. A number of years ago, I built entire interactive wall systems for the museum, for instance, in Washington, D.C., as part of an exercise that I did. My original major was architecture, as many of you know, so this was kind of the ability to bring my design side of an architect and my technology side as a CTO for Hewlett-Packard, and to put those together. But we've got a lot of other technologies like haptic interfaces. These are kind of the shake, vibrate, push back on you kinds of interfaces in an attempt to try to make you feel like you're not just pushing on glass or just having very simple interactions, but something that actually gives you some form of sensory feedback as part of this. We have telepresence robots. I remember at the TED conference, I'm going to think this was 2 years ago, it might have been 3 years ago, but it was, robot came up on stage to present during the main TED conference in Vancouver, and it was Snowden from Russia. So he's still in Russia, but he's there as in a robot form with a big screen showing his face, and allowed him to have the experience of being at TED. And what I really found interesting is after he made his appearance, he stayed active in the robot, walking during the breaks, walking out amongst the crowds, standing around having conversations, even though he was in some secret location in Russia. So those are kind of things that are here and now today. We've got some interesting things coming on with collaboration with 3D objects, or two people being able to manipulate a 3D object even though they're not in the same room and they're not physically touching the same 3D object. Augmented reality glasses. Look, we've got AR displays and AR applications, but how do you integrate it in so it's more natural? It's not the Google Glass. I think those things were, definitely a misfire. But how do you drive those? Immersive telepresence. Look, we've been working with Zoom. When I was at HP, we worked on technology called Halo, which allowed you to feel like everybody was in one room, and I mean it was really immersive, but you still knew you were in a telepresence. How do you get rid of that feeling to where you can really be immersive in this overall experience? There's other technologies, on intelligent social robots, for instance. So, in fact, they're finding, for instance, those that have been given some of these technologies in the home that recognize voice recognition, that seniors are actually using that as kind of a presence to have conversation, but even though it's really more one way. In the most recent vision video that we did called The Near Future a Better Place, it's about aging in place. As we get older, how do we stay home? We actually put in a interactive social robot into the film to kind of convey what that vision is. If you haven't seen that, hop on over, just go to Google and search for The Near Future a Better Place. It'll come right up and you'll be able to see it. And so, we're working on, for instance, volumetric holographic displays, so true 3D displays. Molecular communication, that's a little bit far out there. Is it telepathic? No, but it is the way it's more about the way of understanding how cells communicate with each other, and can you take advantage of that for healthcare purposes, healthcare reasons. Let's take another look at the next roadmap that I'm focused in on, which is what I call experience continuum. It's how do you enhance the experience of people either interacting with technology or interacting with each other. So that includes things like collaborative telemedicine. Again, we represented that in this most recent vision video called The Near Future a Better Place. So check that out. You can see it. The gig economy, that's not gigabits. It's not about network speeds. It's really about the fact that more and more people are becoming independent contractors, and they'll do individual gigs like, write me this piece of code. It'll take you 25 hours. I'll pay you amount of money, and then that's it. We're done. So there's online services like Fiverr and others that are supporting people becoming part of the gig economy. And jury's out on whether the gig economy is going to be good, bad, or indifferent to society. Some people it works out really, really well. Some people, it's a tough way to constantly be out there trying to, win the next gig. 2018, 2019 telepresence travel. We did a trial with VR, and we actually one of the content pieces that we showed in kind of 360 VR with multiple degrees of freedom. It was around travel. In this case, along the bank of a lake with hippos and elephants. And I'll tell you, it by far got the highest score. Of anything we've ever shown content-wise, it was by far got the highest score. Augmented education, that's an important area, and I'll talk about that a little bit more, but we think this, both experiences and technologies and displays and VR and AR, all this comes together, it's going to totally transform education. Holographic educators, having educators remotely, high-speed transportation and travel, 2022. This, I think, is where Elon Musk is having his breakthrough, and I think that's what he is going to drive with Hyperloop, etc. The one I'm really thinking about is really breakthrough experiences around this holographic educators. This is a scene from the vision video from last year, which is we showed Einstein walking through the lesson of the speed of light. And it's a hologram, so the student actually stops it, interrupts it, goes off, does something, etc. This is where I think the fundamental change of education is going to happen, where it's going to be high impact and it's going to make it really, really exciting for the students of the future. This is actually, early parts of this is going to be closer than you think, but this is one of those areas that I'm pretty excited about, particularly when trying to deliver education into developing regions of the world where they don't have access to some of the best teachers. So, don't go anywhere. We still have more of the innovation roadmaps to talk through. We're talking today about technology megatrends. They're going to impact your society, government, business, and your career. So don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back after this short commercial break.
Biz Talk Radio.
This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovator's Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
Welcome back. Today's topic, we're talking about technology megatrends. I've got a couple more that I'm going to whip through here really quick here at the end as we wrap up today's show. So the next one I want to talk about is really around what I call longer, better lives. This is really around the technologies that are going to help us live longer, live more independently, etc. We've already seen some of the things such as some early work in what we call genome-matched treatments. So this is, rather than developing drugs and pharmacies and treatments and those kinds of things for a broad population, they actually map your genome and then give you I don't want to call it a cure, but a fix or an attempt to try to help your whatever challenges you're having with something that's specifically matched to your genome. A lot of work going on in this, and if you've listened to the show on orphaned innovations, I talked about my grandson, who is a genetic microdeletion, a 16p kid as they call it. He has infantile spasms. He's 11 months old. And we're dealing with all of this. So this is an area that's a little bit of a personal one for me, one that I'm getting pretty engaged on. We also, all the way out to 2020, talking about full diagnostics telemedicine. That's a lot of work going on in that because we can't scale doctors fast enough for the aging population. So how are you going to deal with that? And then on-demand bioprinting, the ability to print organs, print prosthesis, print arm casts. Some of this is already being experimented. We hosted an event called The Near Future, earlier this year, and we had the head of Mayo Clinic in Arizona come in and talk about what they're doing in this 3D bioprinting area. And let me tell you, it is really, really amazing. The next one I want to talk about is a sensor-driven world. Now, I've talked a lot about sensors in the past and what's its role from an overall perspective in the industry. But these are sensors that are going to range from, bioacoustic sensing. They're using these, for instance, to do surveys of animals in an area. So they'll surround the area or cover an area with these biosensors and literally listen, and they can listen over kilometers of distances. And based on the sounds, they can count, how many elephants or how many zebras without having to go out there and tag them or chase them or even actually invade their own space. Some great use. There's also, in the case of the picture that's in the middle of this display screen here, is a sensor that works with your mobile phone that detects things like dust, air quality, molds, those kinds of things. So if you have a lot of allergies, these kinds of sensors put around your house alert you when the pollen count gets too high or early stages of mold, those kinds of things. So Sensors are not going to go away. Some people think of it as being negative because someone's watching you, they're monitoring you, they're going to learn about you. But done in the right way, they can actually help you just in your day-to-day living. Sensors will play a critical role for aging in place in order to allow people who are supporting you as you age be able to be independent with a little bit of monitoring and a little bit of support. So as we're coming to the end of the show here today, I want to make you aware that everything I've shown and shared today in this conversation will be available for download. So hop on over to killerinnovations.com, download the PDF. You can get the entire set of slides, all of the information about what are these technology megatrends and what the impact will be. Now, the one question I get is how do I do this? How do I work out these megatrends over such long time frames? What's kind of the tools and methods? The key thing for me, and you should know this by now, is really the ability to ask really good questions. Ask really good questions of myself, ask really good questions of others. So I'm out there talking, asking questions, soliciting answers from experts across a wide range of areas, and that's what goes into these megatrend innovation roadmaps that I just went through. Now you can actually get the same questions I use. They're available. You can purchase them over at innovation.tools. Sales of the tools has been ramping up here at a pretty good clip. So check it out, and it is a great tool that you can use and take advantage of from the standpoint of having kind of a preset set of questions that can kind of help trigger you on new ideas, new innovations, and you can use them with your coworkers, your boss, subordinates to help trigger ideas and think differently about how you would innovate. Also, don't forget, support our sponsors. They're important to us. They allow us to do what it is we do, which is to make this show available, make this content available to you. So show some appreciation, go check those out. And if you do use their products, just drop them a note and let them know where you heard about it from here at Killer Innovations. So, do you want to continue the conversation for today's topic? This is an important topic about where things are going. And that is, around, innovation and where it's going. So then become part of this growing private community of innovators. For a limited time, listeners of killerinnovations.com will receive a 50% discount on your subscription to the Innovators community over on Slack. So it's a paid-for community, but you've been a fan listeners for quite some time. I want to have you over there and be a part of that. So you get to keep the 50% discount for as long as you're a member. So get in now, get in at a listener's price, and you can take advantage of it. Check it out over at innovators.community. Again, check it out over at theinnovators.community. The show notes, including links referenced and the bonus material, which is the PDF of all the slides I showed today, can be found over at killerinnovations.com. This is produced at the Innovator Studio here in Northern Colorado. Syndication is handled by BizTalk Radio. You can find all 13 years of the archive over at killerinnovations.com. The 100 most recent episodes you can get on iTunes, Google. We're now on iHeartRadio. We're in a lot of places. If you have any topics or feedbacks on the future shows, future episodes, send them to us over at feedback@killerinnovations.com. As a final note, do not let the innovation antibodies, those critics of your ideas, get you down. Take your ideas, turn them into innovation that will have impact. And here's my challenge for you. Taking the time to listen to this show, I greatly appreciate it. You are committed to the innovation game. Go out and change the world. And we'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
The opinions you hear on Biz Talk Radio are those of the hosts, callers, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect those of this station, Biz Talk Radio, its management, or advertisers. The information on Biz Talk Radio does not constitute a recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or service. If you have any questions about Biz Talk Radio, contact us at 817-274-1609 or at biztalkradio.com. Biz Talk Radio.